Good morning, everybody. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner. It is December 24th, 2018. I am glad you decided to join me this Christmas Eve. And so, what are we going to do right now? What we're going to do is this. We're going to review Josh Kirby Time Warrior, Eggs from 70 Million BC. So if you have this particular movie on Amazon or you have it as a DVD, I'd like for you to go ahead and pop that DVD in there. Whichever way you want to go, let's do this. Alright, so what do I want to know this time? How did a train get sucked into the time vortex? Now, Zoetrope collided with a train and his suit wasn't instantly damaged? I'd like to know that. Okay, the time pod has clogged intake valves and the time pod isn't overheating? Really? I mean, that thing should have burst into flames. Okay. And why would the barnacles be attached to the intake valves? Wouldn't it be more logical for them to be attached to the exhaust valves? That's where all the heat would be. How could Josh bring the eggs in without first getting out of the time pod? And if he had gotten out of the time pod, he would have fallen out. Alright. If Irwin is so worried about the malfunction, why did he bring the eggs into the time pod and study them? Okay, no, wait a minute, not malfunction. He's worried about the nullifier components. Irwin is so worried about these nullifier components, yet he brought all these barnacles and these eggs into the time pod. He actually told Josh to do it. Why? Why would he study them? Wouldn't he just throw them back into the time stream and keep on going? Okay. And what happened to the time barnacles? We have the eggs, but not the barnacles. And how did the boa constrictor get out of its cage and attack Prism? I'd like to know that. That would have been a very interesting part of the story. And how did Prism get his name anyway? Irwin is never mistaken, yet he allowed his pet boa constrictor to escape from the cage? Really? Now the worms have no teeth. How did they eat all that metal? Swallow it whole like a boa constrictor? Really? Okay. And no one sustained any injuries after the crash? Right. Wasn't it Irwin who asked Josh to bring the eggs into the time pod in the first place? And Irwin, with all of his brilliance, can't rebuild the time pod? Right. And Zoetrope isn't injured either. I'd like to know that one. And Prism can't teleport himself out of that cage? Right. If Zoetrope is partially impaled, why isn't he bleeding? I'd like to know that one as well. And Zoetrope has old food in his time armor? Really? Oh, and I love this one. And the guards didn't notice that Josh just aged those jail cell bars. Really? And how did Irwin and Josh and Prism sneak past the guards? I'd like to know that one. The guard spots the worm and doesn't just aim his weapon at them? Really? And Zoetrope has spoiled food in his time armor. Why? He didn't check the dates? And why is Zoetrope meditating? Shouldn't he be hungry because he can't really eat the food? We know that. And how many worms are there? It only looked like there were 6 or 8 worms in the time pod. What'd they do? Multiply ever since they got out of the time pod? I'd like to know that one as well. And what happened to the nullifier components? Dreadnought didn't scan the escape pod before dragging it into his ship? What, he didn't detect the worms in the first place and go, I wonder why there's a bunch of worms in the dang escape pod? That would have been the first thing I would have thought of. And Dreadnought survives the destruction of his ship? Right. And the guards didn't try to stop Dreadnought before he finally got into the main control room? Right. Oh, and boy, I'll tell you what happened to Dreadnought when Josh grabbed his arm was just a classic scene right out of the video game known as Space Ace. If you've never played Space Ace, look up Don Bluth Space Ace and you'll get what I'm saying. Right. No copyright infringement there. Why did the lady even bother to try to assemble the nullifier? Why? And Irwin, Josh, Azabeth, and Prism all survived the fall. Now then, we have the mushroom people. They're standing right in front of Josh and all of his friends. And Azabeth just suddenly walks right over to one and takes a bite out of its hat. What? And the mushroom people didn't even attempt to stop Azabeth from doing this? Get real. Okay. Anyway, that concludes my review of Josh Kirby Time Warrior, Eggs from 70 million BC. Alright. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.